When it comes to relationships, understanding someone's true intentions can be challenging. People don't always express their feelings directly, and instead, they often test the person they're interested in to see how they respond in different situations. These tests can be subtle or obvious, but they all serve one purpose: to gauge emotions, reactions, and commitment. A guy who is unsure about where he stands with you might use these small tests to figure out if you truly care, how emotionally mature you are, and whether you're worth investing in for the long run. Men often do this without openly admitting it. They might pull away, create distance, or act differently just to see how you react. These behaviors can be confusing, especially if everything seemed to be going well before, but in reality, he is observing how you handle uncertainty, emotional challenges, or a change in dynamic. The way you respond tells him a lot about your feelings, your confidence, and whether you're secure in yourself or dependent on his attention. Some of these tests are meant to reveal how much effort you're willing to put into the relationship. If he suddenly stops initiating conversations, he's likely watching to see if you'll reach out first. If he cancels plans last minute, he might be checking whether you get upset or remain understanding. If he starts mentioning other women, he could be trying to trigger a reaction to measure your level of jealousy. These are all ways of gathering information about your emotional investment without directly asking. There are also deeper, more meaningful tests. A guy who sees potential for something serious might share personal struggles to see if you genuinely care. He might ask deep questions to understand your thoughts on love, relationships, and the future. He could pull back emotionally to check whether you'll fight to bring him closer or simply let him drift away. These moments reveal the emotional depth of a relationship and help him determine whether he feels safe opening up to you. It's important to recognize that not all of these tests are done with bad intentions. Some men use them as a way to protect themselves from getting hurt, while others simply don't know a better way to understand someone's feelings. However, there's a fine line between testing someone in a playful or thoughtful way and manipulating them. A guy who constantly plays mind games, creates unnecessary drama, or repeatedly makes you feel insecure isn't just testing you. He's controlling the situation to his advantage. A healthy connection doesn't require endless tests to prove loyalty or love. The key to handling these situations is to stay confident and self-assured. If a man is testing you, don't fall into the trap of overreacting or seeking constant validation. Instead, respond in a way that reflects your own emotional strength. Show that you care, but never at the cost of your own self-worth. The right person will appreciate your confidence and authenticity, rather than needing to put you through tests to determine your value. 1. He takes longer to reply to your messages. When a guy starts taking longer to reply to your messages, it can be a subtle way of testing your feelings for him. He might be trying to see if you'll notice the delay and how you'll react to it. If you usually get quick responses and suddenly there's a change, he could be observing whether you'll double text, ask him what's wrong, or become distant yourself. It's a psychological move that helps him gauge your level of interest without directly asking. By delaying his replies, he might also be testing your patience. He wants to see if you get frustrated, overthink, or simply stay calm and wait. If you start acting differently or become overly eager, he might take that as a sign that you're more emotionally invested in him than he initially thought. On the other hand, if you remain unaffected, he could take it as a sign that you're not as interested as he hoped. Sometimes guys do this to create a sense of mystery. If he's always available and replying instantly, the excitement of talking to him might fade. But by making you wait, he's trying to make himself seem more valuable in your eyes. This kind of behavior plays on the idea that people often want what they can't easily have. However, there's also a fine line between testing and losing interest. If he consistently takes longer to reply without any effort to engage in meaningful conversations, it could mean he's pulling away rather than testing you. The key is to observe his overall behavior. If he's still showing signs of interest in other ways, he's likely just trying to see how much you care. 2. He cancels plans last minute to see your reaction. When a guy cancels plans at the last minute, he might be testing how much you value him and how you handle disappointment. This isn't always about him being busy or something urgent coming up. It could be intentional to see your response. He may want to know if you'll get upset, act indifferent, or try to reschedule immediately. Your reaction can give him clues about your feelings and investment in the relationship. If you react emotionally, showing frustration or disappointment, he might see it as a sign that you genuinely care about spending time with him. If you brush it off too easily, he may wonder if he matters to you at all. In some cases, he's looking for reassurance that you'll put in effort, even when things don't go as planned. He may secretly want you to insist on meeting another time or ask him why he cancelled. Another reason for this behavior could be a test of your patience and understanding. He might be seeing if you'll react with anger or if you'll remain calm and supportive. This is especially true if he wants to know how you handle unexpected changes in a relationship. If you get upset but communicate your feelings maturely, it can signal emotional depth. However, if you lash out or act overly clingy, it might push him away. On the other hand, repeated cancellations without any effort to reschedule could mean he's losing interest rather than testing you. The key is to watch for patterns. If he cancels but still seems eager to spend time with you later, he's likely just trying to gauge your response. If he consistently avoids plans, he might not be as invested as you are. 3. He brings up other girls to test your jealousy. When a guy brings up other girls in conversation, it's often a way to test your feelings for him. He might casually mention a female friend, a co-worker, or even an ex to see how you react. If you show signs of jealousy, like asking more questions, getting defensive, or changing your mood, he may take it as confirmation that you have deeper feelings for him. This kind of test helps him gauge your emotional attachment without directly asking about it. Sometimes, he does this to see if you'll compete for his attention. If he notices you trying to prove that you're better than the other girl, he might feel reassured that you're interested. It can also be a way for him to see if you'll get possessive, or if you're secure enough to stay confident in yourself. If you act unaffected, he might wonder if you actually like him, or if you're not emotionally invested. Bringing up other girls can also be a way to create tension and spark attraction. Some people believe that a little jealousy can make someone realize their true feelings. If he feels that you're becoming too comfortable in your dynamic, he might try to shake things up by subtly mentioning someone else to see if it triggers any reaction. However, if he constantly talks about other girls or tries to make you feel insecure, it could be a sign of manipulation rather than a simple test. A healthy connection doesn't require games to prove feelings. If you notice this behavior, it's important to respond in a way that shows confidence, acknowledging what he says, but not letting it affect your self-worth. 4. He acts distant to see if you chase him. When a guy suddenly starts acting distant, it's often a way to test whether you'll chase after him. He might reduce the frequency of his messages, become less enthusiastic in conversations, or take longer to respond. This shift in behavior is meant to create uncertainty, making you wonder what went wrong. His goal is to see if you'll put in extra effort to keep the connection alive, which reassures him that you genuinely care. By pulling away, he's also testing how emotionally dependent you are on him. If you immediately panic, double text, or ask him what's wrong, he might see it as a sign that you're deeply invested. On the other hand, if you remain calm and continue living your life without reacting too much, he might feel the need to re-engage with you to keep your attention. This tactic is based on the psychological concept of scarcity. When something becomes less available, people tend to desire it more. He may be creating space to see if his absence makes you miss him and value him more. If you start chasing, it confirms that his presence holds importance in your life. However, there's a fine line between testing and manipulation. If he continuously acts distant without any clear reason or refuses to communicate openly, it could be a sign of emotional immaturity rather than a simple test. A healthy connection doesn't require someone to create artificial distance just to measure the other person's reaction. If you notice this pattern, the best response is to match his energy. Stay confident, focus on yourself, and let him come back on his own if he truly values the relationship. 5. He stops complimenting you to check if you notice. When a guy suddenly stops complimenting you, it can be a way of testing how much validation you expect from him. If he used to praise your looks, personality, or efforts, but then goes silent, he might be observing your reaction. His goal is to see if you'll notice the change, bring it up, or even start seeking his approval. This test is often about control and curiosity. He might want to know whether you've become used to his compliments and if their absence will make you feel insecure. If you start fishing for validation, asking him how you look or why he hasn't said anything nice lately, he'll take that as a sign that his words have an impact on you. It reassures him that his compliments hold value and that you care about what he thinks. Another reason he might do this is to see if you'll start putting in more effort. If you were used to hearing compliments regularly, he might want to see if their absence makes you change anything about yourself, whether it's your appearance, attitude, or the way you interact with him. He could be testing if you were confident on your own, or if his words were influencing your self-esteem. However, if he completely withdraws from showing appreciation, it might not be just a test. It could indicate fading interest. The key to responding well is to remain unaffected. Instead of seeking validation, maintain your confidence. If he's testing you, your self-assured attitude will make him realize you don't rely on his compliments for self-worth, making you even more attractive in his eyes. 6. He shares personal problems to see if you care. When a guy shares his personal problems with you, he's often testing how much you genuinely care about him. By opening up about his struggles, he wants to see if you'll offer support, show empathy, or simply brush it off. This is his way of figuring out whether you're emotionally invested in him beyond just casual conversations. Men don't typically share their vulnerabilities with just anyone. If he's telling you about his stress, family issues, work struggles, or personal insecurities, he's observing how you respond. Do you listen attentively? Do you offer advice or comfort? Or do you seem uninterested and change the subject? Your reaction helps him determine if you're someone he can trust and rely on emotionally. Another reason he might do this is to gauge whether you see him as more than just a friend. If you show deep concern and make an effort to check up on him later, he may take it as a sign that you truly care about him on a deeper level. On the other hand, if you give a neutral or indifferent response, he might assume you're not emotionally invested in him. This is also a way for him to test your patience and emotional maturity. Life isn't always smooth, and he wants to know if you'll stick around during tough times. If you respond with kindness and understanding, it reassures him that you're someone who values emotional connection. However, if he constantly unloads his problems without reciprocating support for you, it could be a red flag of emotional dependency rather than just a test. The key is to offer genuine care while maintaining your own emotional boundaries. 7. He waits to see if you initiate contact first. When a guy purposely stops initiating contact, he's often testing to see if you'll make the first move. This is his way of figuring out how interested and invested you are in him. If he's always the one texting or calling first, he might start pulling back to observe whether you'll take the initiative or if the conversation dies without his effort. By doing this, he's looking for reassurance. He wants to know if you genuinely enjoy talking to him or if you're just responding out of politeness. If you reach out first, it signals that you value the connection and want to keep it going. If you don't, he might take it as a sign that you're not as interested as he thought. This test also plays into the idea of effort and balance. He may want to see if you're willing to put in the same amount of energy that he does. If he always initiates and you never do, he might start feeling like he's chasing you without getting anything in return. By stepping back, he's checking if you'll step forward. However, if he completely stops initiating for a long time, it could mean he's losing interest rather than just testing you. The best response is to stay natural. If you want to talk to him, reach out without overthinking. But if you notice that he's only making you do all the work, it's a sign that the connection might not be as mutual as you deserve. 8. He creates small conflicts to test your patience. When a guy creates small conflicts on purpose, he's often testing your patience and emotional reactions. He might start minor arguments, tease you in a way that feels slightly irritating, or disagree with you over trivial things just to see how you handle it. His goal is to observe whether you stay calm, communicate maturely, or get frustrated and lash out. This kind of test is usually about emotional compatibility. He wants to know if you can handle disagreements without turning them into major fights. Some men do this because they've had past experiences where small issues escalated into big problems, so they want to see early on how you react to conflict. If you respond with understanding and maturity, it reassures him that you're someone who can navigate challenges in a relationship without unnecessary drama. Another reason he might do this is to gauge how much you care. If you brush off his small provocations without showing any emotion, he might wonder if you're indifferent to him. But if you engage in the conflict with passion, while still keeping it respectful, he might take it as a sign that you're emotionally invested. However, if these conflicts become frequent or feel manipulative, it could be a red flag rather than just a test. A healthy relationship doesn't require constant testing through unnecessary disagreements. If you notice this pattern, the best response is to stay composed, express your feelings without overreacting, and set boundaries if needed. A person who truly values you won't need to create conflict just to see how much you care. 9. He observes how you react when he's busy. When a guy suddenly becomes busy, he might be testing how you react to his absence. He wants to see if you get upset, demand more attention, or remain understanding and patient. This test helps him gauge whether you're emotionally secure or if you rely too much on his presence for validation. By pulling back and focusing on work, personal projects, or other commitments, he's observing how you handle the change. If you start texting more, asking why he isn't available, or getting frustrated, he may take it as a sign that you're overly dependent on him. On the other hand, if you respect his space and continue living your life without making a big deal out of it, he might see you as emotionally mature and independent, qualities that many men find attractive in a long-term partner. This test can also be about balance. He wants to know if you'll match his energy and effort when his availability shifts. If he's genuinely busy but still tries to stay in touch, he might be hoping you'll do the same, keeping the connection alive without making it feel like an obligation. However, if he frequently uses being busy as an excuse to avoid you or keep you guessing, it could be a sign of emotional distancing rather than just a test. The best way to respond is to mirror his behavior, give him space, stay confident, and let him see that you're secure enough to handle moments of distance without overreacting. If he truly values you, he'll find a way to make time, no matter how busy he is. 10. He pulls away emotionally to see if you pull him back. When a guy pulls away emotionally, he's often testing whether you'll chase after him or let him go. He may suddenly become less expressive, stop sharing his thoughts and feelings, or seem distant in conversations. His goal is to see if you'll notice the change and make an effort to bring him back emotionally. This kind of test is usually about reassurance. He might be feeling insecure and wants to know if you truly care. By withdrawing, he's observing whether you'll check in on him, ask what's wrong, or try to reconnect emotionally. If you do, he may take it as a sign that you're genuinely invested in the relationship. If you don't, he might assume you're not as emotionally attached as he hoped. Another reason he might do this is to see if you'll respect his space. Some men test boundaries by pulling back, expecting their partner to either panic or remain calm. If you react with neediness, constantly asking why he's distant or pushing for attention, he might feel suffocated. But if you acknowledge the shift while giving him room to process his emotions, he may realize that you're secure enough to handle ups and downs without overreacting. However, there's a difference between testing and manipulation. If he frequently pulls away just to see if you'll chase him, it could be a toxic pattern rather than a simple test. The best response is to stay emotionally balanced, show that you care, but don't beg for his attention. If he values you, he'll come back on his own, realizing that a healthy relationship doesn't require emotional games. 11. He flirts less to see if you lose interest. When a guy suddenly flirts less, he might be testing whether your interest in him is based on his charm or something deeper. If he was playful, teasing, and affectionate before, but now seems more neutral, he's likely observing how you respond to the shift. His goal is to see if you'll still engage with him when the excitement of flirting fades, or if you'll pull away because the energy has changed. This test is often about reassurance. He wants to know if you like him for who he is, beyond the fun and playful interactions. If your connection is only built on flirting, he might worry that once he stops, your interest will fade. By holding back, he's checking whether you still make an effort to talk to him, spend time together, or initiate any kind of connection. It's also a way for him to see if you'll start chasing him. If he flirts less and notices you trying harder to regain his attention by teasing him, complimenting him, or being more affectionate, he might take it as confirmation that you care. On the other hand, if you don't seem to notice or adjust your behavior, he may assume you were only interested in the playful side of the relationship. However, if he completely stops showing interest for a long time, it could be a sign that he's losing feelings rather than just testing you. The best response is to stay natural. Don't force flirting, but don't hold back either. If you like him, keep engaging as usual. But if he continues to distance himself, it may be time to evaluate whether he's genuinely interested or just playing mind games. 12. He asks deep questions to check your feelings. When a guy starts asking deep and personal questions, he's likely testing your feelings for him. Instead of keeping conversations light and casual, he might start asking about your past relationships, your thoughts on love, your biggest fears, or what you want in the future. These questions are his way of seeing how emotionally open and invested you are in the connection. By asking deeper questions, he's trying to understand your mindset and emotional availability. If you answer thoughtfully and engage in meaningful conversations, he'll take it as a sign that you trust him and are willing to be emotionally vulnerable. On the other hand, if you give short or dismissive answers, he may assume that you're either not interested in him or not ready for a deeper connection. This test can also be about compatibility. He wants to see if your values, goals, and outlook on life align with his. If he asks about your dreams, family, or what makes you happy, he's likely trying to figure out if the two of you are on the same page for something more serious. Additionally, he may be looking for clues about how you feel about him. If he asks about what you look for in a partner or how you know when you like someone, he's probably hoping to hear something that reassures him about your feelings. Your responses can either encourage him to open up more or make him hesitant if he doesn't feel a strong emotional connection. The best way to respond is to be authentic. If you're interested in him, engage in the conversation and share your thoughts honestly. If you're unsure, take it as an opportunity to explore whether you truly connect with him on a deeper level.